Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a sophisticated dual-engine machine that actually runs almost every modern society you can think of. We're talking about the mixed economy. You see, every society on Earth faces the exact same ultimate puzzle. How in the world do you stretch strictly limited resources to satisfy practically unlimited human wants? Well, let's unpack exactly how a mixed system tackles this massive challenge by blending the most powerful and honestly often opposing elements of different economic philosophies.
Here's a quick roadmap of what we're going to cover. We'll contrast the two economic extremes, define the mixed system itself, explore the three massive questions of production, what, how, and for whom, and finally, we'll analyze the really delicate balancing act that holds the whole thing together.
All right, part one. Let's start by looking at the two economic extremes.
To really get this, we have to look at the pure model sitting at total opposite ends of the economic spectrum. On one side, we have capitalism. Here, an automatic price mechanism acts as this sort of invisible organizer. Consumers are basically kings, right? Their spending sends direct, instant signals to producers. Demand goes up, prices go up, and so profits go up. But on the flip side, we have socialism, which relies on a central planning authority. So instead of chasing profits, the government tallies up all the human and economic resources and directs them entirely based on national priorities. It's essentially profit versus priority.
Moving right along to Section 2, what exactly is a mixed economy?
I want you to picture a split screen for a second. On the left side, you've got private entrepreneurs running highly profitable shops, totally guided by market prices and what consumers are asking for. But on the right side of that exact same screen, you have government workers actively building public infrastructure. These two very distinct zones are working together seamlessly. They coexist. The private sector is absolutely encouraged to innovate, but it doesn't just run wild. The public sector, directed by the government, regulates it through fiscal, monetary, and price control policies to ensure society's basic needs are actually met. It's a literal dual-engine machine.
Now, think about Adam Smith's famous concept of the invisible hand. The mixed economy attempts to harness this exact capitalist idea, letting the price mechanism promote social welfare naturally, just as a byproduct of people acting in their own self-interest. But, and this is crucial, it simultaneously adopts the socialist principle of to each according to his work, heavily relying on the state to step in and reduce harsh income inequalities. A mixed economy basically looks at both of these incredibly powerful ideas and boldly says, you know what, we actually need both.
Which brings us to Section 3, and the very first of three universal problems every society has to solve: deciding what to produce.
It's a massive puzzle. Out of literally infinite possibilities, how does an economy actually choose what gets made? Do we prioritize making the latest consumer electronics, or do we build more hospitals, luxury cars, or public buses?
This is where we really see our split-screen blueprint in action. In the private sector, that price mechanism is the star of the show. If consumers want to spend money on a specific commodity, firms will absolutely chase that demand to maximize their profits. Meanwhile, the public sector steps in based on broader national objectives. The state purposely directs investment into crucial economic infrastructure, things like roads, bridges, basic industries, things the private sector might totally ignore if the profit margins just aren't high enough.
Let's jump to Section 4. Once we know what to make, we hit our second fundamental problem: choosing how to produce it.
Do we use a labor-intensive technique, say hundreds of workers out there with shovels, or do we go with a capital-intensive technique that prioritizes heavy automation and robotics? And this isn't just an engineering question. It literally determines the economic fate of the entire workforce.
So private firms are ruthlessly pushed toward efficiency by market prices. To maximize their profits, they simply have to minimize their costs. If labor happens to be cheaper than machinery in a specific region, they'll hire more workers. Simple as that. But look at the public sector side of the screen. The government planning authority might intentionally choose a totally different route. They consider costs, sure, but their primary goal might be generating employment. They might choose to hire local workers for a big public works project, even if a machine could technically do it faster, because giving citizens jobs is a top national priority.
That brings us to Section 5, deciding for whom to produce.
Because once the goods are actually created, who gets to take them home? We know you can't just give everything to everyone. So how exactly is the pie divided up?
Well, in the private sector, distribution is dictated almost entirely by purchasing power. Incomes like wages, rent, and profits are determined by the market, which means those with higher incomes naturally get a larger slice of the pie.
But to prevent this system from leaving vulnerable people completely behind, the state intervenes. The government uses highly targeted policies to directly control production and distribution, ensuring that adequate quantities of basic necessities like food, water, and shelter are guaranteed for the public. You essentially get the fierce innovation of the market paired directly with a vital social safety net.
Finally, Section 6. Let's look at the ultimate balancing act that brings this all together. Bringing all these threads together, you can really see how the mixed system attempts to cherry-pick the absolute best parts of both extremes. It manages to avoid the sometimes harsh reality of a purely profit-driven market, while simultaneously dodging the massive inefficiencies that come with total central planning. It smartly uses monetary and fiscal policies to keep the private sector regulated while still letting it innovate, and it leverages central planning to steer crucial public investment right toward national priorities.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. In a system that is constantly juggling private profit motives with public social welfare, who ultimately decides when the scales of our split-screen economy have tipped just a bit too far in one direction? Is it the consumer voting with their wallet, or the citizen voting at the ballot box? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll see you next time.